No, you don't need the.
I'm doing this my way.
He a legend, he a legend, he a legend. He a legend, he a legend, he a legend.
Talking on it though, then
He
you
a
can't work
legend.
it up later.
Welcome to the league, to the league, to the league, to the league, to the league of items. Welcome to the league, to the league, to the league, to the league, to the league of items.
Hey, what's up everybody? It's Michael with League of Items, and about last night. Some interesting matchups. Everything went pretty much according to plan, except for the Sunning versus RNG matchup. So the best lineup in the biggest contest on DraftKings last night was a top captain lineup by Supavash and Red Kachik. Congrats to both of those guys. That's not bad. $65,000. So we had Cube, Longshi, Aches, Xiaohu, LWX, Hang, and Vici Gaming. So basically we're seeing a 4-3 top stack with a pivot getting in an additional carry into the lineup. And I think this is a smart play because, like we've discussed on other videos and other live streams, when you're going to pivot, you really want the additional the kill upside from other teams, because if you have like Xiaohu plus Betty, they're fighting for the same number of kills. So unless they go absolutely out of control, there's the chance that somebody else outscores them. So that is what DraftKings looked like last night. My best lineup was not as good. 593 compared to 651. And it's because I was not on Cube. And I kind of differentiated a little differently. I had Forge in my lineup instead of Cube. Had Xiaohu right, but just didn't go my way. Did call Damwon Gaming correctly, but I thought they would get the 2-0. But that was not the case. So let's get into the sheet. So if we look at the results from last night, first, obviously, we should take a look at Vici Gaming. Vici Gaming and RNG were the two most highest scoring teams on the slate. In order to get them into your lineup, you would have to run a top or support, I think, as your captain. So I think that Ake's number is wrong, actually. I don't think he scored 117.5. Let me check that. All right, so if we take a look at the teams, obviously we should start with Vici Gaming. They had their big victory against V5, everybody's favorite team to destroy. The interesting thing we see here is that Forge was not as highly correlated with his team. He was the fourth highest scoring mid laner, even though his team had the first or second in top, and in support they also had the highest scoring team. So this isn't very surprising, because the 2-0 upside for Vici Gaming means that they had theoretically the highest upside for their team slot. You really want those games not played bonuses for your top, support, and team, and apparently that was the best way to build last night. This is pretty surprising. You don't see this very often, where the mid laner is the lowest scoring player on their own team. Then we go to the top lane. That can't be right either. So Gimgoon, after his 100-point performance last night, he was like one of the most popular players around, and he did not reach value. So this is another spot where we see the top laner being less correlated with his team. Not very surprising. We see that pretty often. LWX and Tion both had good nights. Their team had a pretty good night, but the only reason you would go from Vici Gaming to Fun Plus Phoenix is if you needed the $200 of salary savings. You probably weren't in that spot last night. Go down to RNG. I liked RNG a lot last night. Xiaohu was the highest scoring player on the slate, 95 points from Betty. So those are two good spots. Obviously, in the winning lineup, we saw a pivot from Betty to LWX, which ended up winning that guy $65,000. So good job by that guy. And then another thing to take notice of is that Sunning was more popular than RNG. RNG outscored Sunning because they lost the series, but they had more kills. So again, the outcomes of the matches are important, but every once in a while you'll get it go the opposite direction, which is kind of weird to see, but happens every once in a while. It's just like there was a huge fight around Baron, I think, went the wrong way for RNG, and Sunning was able to close out the game based off of that. So that's about it for the lineup review. Now I'm gonna bring on OhMyDyr, and we're gonna go through some things from last night, as well as a few of the bets we made on our stream last night. OhMyDyr, welcome to the YouTube channel. This is about last night. We do a little bit of a review, and we are going to go through some of our bets from yesterday, some of our predictions from yesterday. So before we get started, you want to introduce yourself to everybody?
My name's OhMyDyr. I'm a coach for Simplified DFS. You can follow me on Twitter, same thing, OhMyDyr. On Twitch, OhMyDyr. Pretty much it.
Word. So let me just get my headphones on, just so we don't get any reverb. All right. So yesterday we did a live stream, and we put together some bets about what we felt different about. So last night you had RNG money line and Sunning plus 1.5 maps. So obviously that was looking good for you. You picked KT over Damwon Gaming. I had the opposite side of that one, so that's one for me. The Brazilian match is still going on, so we don't have any information on that. The LCS and LEC slate is still going on, so we don't have results for that. And then for ownership, you had FPX, VG, RNG, KT for ownership, and I had VG, FPX, KT, RNG. So let's see how that one ended up. I think you were probably closer to being right. Did you take a look at that yet today?
For what, ownership numbers?
Yeah.
Yeah, so VG and FPX were pretty much the chalk of the bunch. So we both, I think, agreed with that they would be the highest.
Yep.
Suning then came up a little higher than RNG.
Yeah, which was not very surprising.
No, but we knew that they would be split just because, well, especially on DK, just Suning was much cheaper, so we knew that I assumed it would be more the Suning side just because they were cheaper, which for sure had to be the case because I know on FanDuel, RNG was just higher owned.
Yeah.
Because they were about the same price, or like the margin wasn't as big to upgrade to RNG. Whereas the KT Damwon Gaming was pretty much split down the middle.
Yeah, that surprised me.
Players were like 10 to 15%.
Yeah.
Which I wasn't shocking for me, because when I was going back with it, like I even said multiple times, while I thought KT could win this Damwon game, I think it was split. I was telling all my viewers and stuff, like the ownership's going to be split. Either side could win. I agreed with you where Damwon Gaming had the better roster. What surprised me though is that aiming was like super high, for like ADC.
Yeah.
He was like 23%, 25% in some contests. Which was respect to how good he was, and I watched some of the games, or was watching the VODs at least of the games, and there was a reason why he was that owned. Like he was the only reason why KT early had a chance.
Yeah.
With Kuro running it down.
Yeah. Okay. So let's get into some of our best calls and worst calls from last night. So first up, your best call from last night. What do you got?
I had like the Suning upset call. It didn't work fantasy wise, but it worked for betting wise. So if you either took the maps or the money line, which some of my bettors ended up cashing well on.
Nice.
So that was probably my biggest hit on the head, with them upsetting.
Word.
It was good odds for both sides, either the money line or the 1.5 maps. Like the plus 1.5.
Yeah, I think that I like looking at the maps, because that's really where you can get good lines. I think that the money line is so overblown by public perception, and then they kind of feel obligated to post map lines that are similar to it, or like that at least make sense with it. And then
yeah, exactly. It depends on the site, but I just take whatever makes me more money.
Yeah. Okay, so that was your best call from last night. What was your worst call from last night?
Probably the Suning fantasy wise, like I mentioned. So they did upset, but they had 0 kills in the first game.
Unlucky.
And then the last game, they pretty much had like one really good team fight and ended the game. And that really hurt their fantasy upside. So a lot of the players actually got outscored by RNG, even though that RNG lost.
Yeah, that was pretty weird. You do see it every once in a while, but it's always kind of surprising when it's actually when it actually happens.
100%.
So next up, we have what's next? Next, your biggest surprise from last night.
Cube being the winning captain in most contests. Some had Xiaohu as like the, I guess, like, I don't know about optimal line, but like the winning line in most tournaments.
Yeah.
Or like the tickets and stuff, but Cube was like in most of them.
Yeah.
I think in the big $20 he split. No, did he not? Was it not Cube? I think I wasn't in it, unfortunately.
Yeah, the winning lineup was split with Cube.
Yeah, so I think that was the biggest shocker, a top lane at captain, after we talked about on stream in your late night one with Dark Sheep, where we said top is not optimal at captain.
Yeah.
Which is just, it just made me laugh when I woke up to it this morning.
Yeah. We said last night that the reason it's a red flag for roster construction is because you have those spots where their team will win and the top laner will just be like not correlated with the rest of their team. So if we go back and take a look at what happened yesterday, I have like that scenario played out in the Fun Plus Phoenix match. Gimgoon only scored
100%.
55, whereas LWX scored 100, Tion scored 85, DoNB scored 85. So I think that we're technically right, but
yeah, most cases they're not.
yeah, like we were technically right when we gave that response, but I think even on the stream we kind of admitted that it's just a higher variance spot, so it can win you a tournament, but if it's like a cash play, you probably don't want to do it, and if you're looking at it just from expected value, you probably don't want to do it. So that's good on that. Then next up, what was your biggest regret from last night? Obviously results oriented.
Yeah, so my biggest regret was that I did like VG RNG 4-3 stacks, even though that you couldn't get like an ADC or mid laner there, unless you were doing like some really weird 4-2-1. But I rathered 4-3 today, and I had a 4-3 with AIX as my captain.
Yeah.
At least in my MME ticket, because I thought, why not?
Sure.
Two decent favorites. The only problem is I had cube lineups, so I rewound my FC crunches from yesterday, and found all the cube lineups that I didn't play. One of them ended up being the winning lineup with the LWX pivot.
Damn, that sucks.
But even I had ones that would have like been in like the top 5.
Yeah.
In like regular contests, so it would have sucked for not winning the ticket if I played the regular 4-3 with like iBoy, I think.
Yeah.
Or Betty, I forget which one it gave you at ADC, but nonetheless, it would have done really well. And the only one I ended up playing was the AIX captain, just because the sense, like we said, jungle has higher KP percentage,
Yeah.
kill share percentage, damage. They correlate very well with the team. So why would I play top lane? And then that top lane line ends up hitting. So.
Yeah, and they're like Cube really hasn't shown that at all this year, right? Like
oh, not even close.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So next up we have the fantasy killer of the night. Who is the player that killed most of your lineups?
You already mentioned him, Mr. Gimgoon.
Yeah.
High owned at captain, high owned in top lane.
Yeah, you said he was the highest owned player on the slate, right? For everybody?
In my cash, I think he was like 80%.
Oh my god.
Or like 70%. It was something ridiculous where, and at captain, he had like a huge percentage. I cashed yesterday with Gimgoon at captain.
Wow.
By the way.
In what, a double up?
Yeah, in a double up. So I played, the only times that I played jungle and top is in cash, because it gives me the two biggest favorites usually on the slate. So yesterday was VG FPX, and that's what it gave me. It gave me a 4-3 with like Gimgoon, Cube. I think it was like Gimgoon, Cube, Tion, Doingby, LWX, Hang, and PG Gaming, or like the team. Like that was like my cash line, and I finished like in the, I think it was like a 400 person one or the 300 person one, and I finished in the top 20. So like the line was somewhat pretty chalky. Where like 20 of us had the same line.
All right.
So I just feel like it's been working well.
Sure.
But he sucked in all my GPPs.
He sucked for a lot of people's GPPs. So
That is
so
correct.
last up, we've got the Fantasy Angel or Fantasy Savior. Probably Savior makes more sense, but so we'll change it on the fly. Fantasy Savior. What player saved most of your lineups?
I don't know about save, but maybe it's the Fallen Angel of Grace with the RNG low own guys that did really well. So Xiaohu and Betty.
Because we were talking about
so-
this last night, and I feel like I kind of helped convince you on this.
Yeah, well, okay, so yesterday I knew that I wanted both sides. So before we got on together, I knew I liked both sides. Funny enough, I predicted RNG to win. Just for betting purposes, I loved the sharp, almost like sharp money on like the Suning side. But for DFS, I knew both teams had decent upside in a game that could have been bloody. So I did play both sides.
Yeah.
I'm always like very transparent with that. I did play both sides. The Suning ones didn't do well. The RNG ones did.
Yeah.
And a lot of it had to do with Xiaohu and Betty.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think in another double up, I ended up pivoting off like LWX or something and put Betty.
Yeah.
Just for fun. And then cash Betty was 0.44%.
What?
Yeah, 0.44 in a double up.
Wow.
Was it a low owned one? Yeah, I only play $5 ones, but
Wow, that's surprising.
he was 0.44%, put up 93 points.
Wow.
And then so that would be like the sharp in cash over Rye Boy, who is probably like 40 or 50% in a double
Yeah.
up, and Betty outscored him by 3 or 4 points, and that could have been like the difference between like a 4-3 cashing and your 4-2-1 with Betty, if it was like a big tournament.
Wow.
Like sometimes that like percentage could change and like, actually give you leverage.
Mm-hmm.
It was just hilarious to see that in cash though.
That's crazy.
But yeah, him and Xiaohu in some contests actually won you a takedown at captain.
Yeah.
And I think you nailed it on the head yesterday when you said he was your favorite player from that game. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
it was fun rostering.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in picking talent because like in the game, like when you're actually playing the game, if you have a talent discrepancy, you can kind of just carry your team. So it's like the best player in that matchup last night was Xiaohu, and it worked out. So basically that's it. I don't have any more questions for you. Was there anything else you wanted to mention about last night's slate before we get out of here?
No, I think I was just happy that I was able to break even. I was pivot off of hitting a ticket, so I think I'm close. But other than that, let's just get back at it today. And
Yeah, I think I had one that
looking
was pretty
forward.
close in that like quarter qualifier too. I think I came in like 16th or something like that, which stinks.
Damn,
But
nice.
but yeah. So thanks for stopping by. Let everybody know where they can find you real quick on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and everything.
Well, just twitch.tv/OhMyDyr and at OhMyDyr on Twitter.
Cool. So we'll probably have another stream later today. Otherwise, thanks for stopping by.
Thank you for having
Just
me.
wrapping it up. His best call was Sunning upset. Worst call was the Fantasy upside, not upset. Biggest surprise was Cube as a captain in a winning lineup. Biggest regret, Vici Gaming and RNG stacks, but he didn't have any exposure to Cube as a captain, which neither did I. A lot of people didn't. Fantasy killer of the night, Gimgoon. I think that's pretty accurate because of how popular FPX was. And then the fantasy savior was Xiaohu, Betty, and RNG. All right, cool. Well, as always, this is Michael for League of Items. This was about last night, and we'll see you soon.